Hello, everyone. This video is for my critical thinking class. We are entering into the 7th week, so we are just about done with the course. I appreciate all your hard work so far, so let's just finish strong. And let's start that process by looking at deductive arguments. Our only work for the week is the deductive argument assignment. This assignment is due Sunday, August 26th at 11 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. It should be a pretty easy assignment. There are just 2 main steps for it. The first step of the assignment, there are a series of logical premises provided for you, and you simply need to come up with the appropriate conclusion, a conclusion that is valid and sound in terms of deductive reasoning to go along with those 2 premises. So I think there are 4 of those. They're really easy things. I would just encourage you try not to overcomplicate them. In the past, that is where students have gotten themselves into a little trouble with this assignment, is simply by overcomplicating what is actually a really simple task. And then the second part of the assignment is to simply create 4 of your own deductive arguments. And again, these should be sound and valid. And so we'll talk a little bit about that right now. So deductive arguments are different than inductive arguments, but they're very similar. The main difference is that with inductive arguments, which we discussed in our conversation over this past weekend, inductive arguments are dealing with whether or not the argument is strong or weak, using words like probably, sometimes, usually, and these kind of arguments move from specific statements about a subject to a general, larger claim. Deductive arguments that we are dealing with this week, they work sort of opposite. They move from general statements towards a specific conclusion, and whether they we don't really consider them whether or not they are strong or weak. We concern ourselves with whether they are true or false. Now, in order to know whether or not they're true or false, a few things have to happen. The premises need to be true, and the premises need to be logically related to one another. So a simple deductive argument, in fact, the most famous deductive argument, goes like this. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. The first 2 lines of that, all men are mortal and Socrates is a man, are general premises. And then we move to the specific conclusion that is, therefore, Socrates is a mortal. So that's generally how these are going to work. I really quickly want to talk about a few different types of these. You can find these in the Prezi that I posted in the announcements, but I wanted to explain them to you in person, in video. The first type of deductive argument is called the modus ponens argument. It is Latin for the way that affirms by affirming. And so a modus ponens argument goes like this. If P occurs, Q occurs. P did occur, so Q occurred. Now you might be wondering, why in the world am I talking about P's and Q's? And it's because when we are dealing with formal logic and logical arguments and rhetorical arguments like this, basically we want to have a way of stripping away the language and just dealing with variables. Language itself can be arbitrary and subjective and have lots of different meanings, and we've already talked all about that. So the idea is to take an argument and strip away the language and just almost treat it like an algebraic equation. So modus ponens goes, if P occurs, Q occurs, P did occur, so Q occurred. So for example, a really simple modus ponens argument would be, if I drink coffee, I will be happy. I drank coffee, therefore I am happy. Make sense? The second type of argument is called modus tollens. Modus tollens is Latin for the way that denies by denying. It is very similar to the first one. It starts the same. If P occurs, Q will occur. So for example, if I drink coffee, that's the P in the argument, Q will occur, which is I will be happy, right? So if I drink coffee, P, I will be happy, Q. The difference between modus ponens and modus tollens is that modus tollens is the negation. So you take one of those two premises, the P or the Q, and you make it not happen. So if P occurs, Q did not occur, therefore P did not occur, or P did not occur, therefore Q did not occur. So if we put it back to the coffee argument, if I drink coffee, I will be happy. I am not happy. Therefore, I didn't drink coffee. Or if I drink coffee, I will be happy. I didn't drink coffee. Therefore, I am not happy. Make sense? The last two I want to talk about are both a little different. The first one is the hypothetical syllogism. This is basically just adding a step to the first argument, the modus ponens, and by doing so, we create what is almost like the transitive property in algebra. So the transitive property is x equals y, or if x equals y and y equals z, then x automatically equals z. Or put into formal argument language, we could say if P occurs, Q occurs, and if Q occurs, R occurs. Therefore, if P occurs, R occurs. So to go back to our coffee argument, if I wake up in time, I will make coffee. If I wake up in time is our P, I will make coffee, Q. If I make coffee, I will be happy. If I make coffee is Q, I will be happy is R. Therefore, if I wake up in time, I will be happy. Does that make sense? So it's almost like a domino effect. The last one is just called a disjunctive syllogism. A disjunctive syllogism is just an either or statement. P can occur or Q can occur. And then whichever one did occur means that the other one didn't, or whichever one did not occur means the other one did. So for example, I can either have coffee or tea. I did not have coffee, therefore I had tea. Or I can have coffee or tea. I didn't have tea, therefore I had coffee. Does that make sense? I hope so. These sometimes take a little bit of time to wrap your head around, but once you get it, they're not too challenging, I don't think. The only real trick to them is make sure that your premises relate to one another. I've had students in the past turn in arguments like, if I make coffee, I will be happy, therefore it's Saturday. That doesn't quite work. The premises have to logically follow one another leading into the conclusion. That's it. If you have any questions on this assignment, let me know. I don't think it should be that hard, but I would say just be careful. Don't make a sort of simple mistake or overthink this or anything like that. Pay attention to the wording. Make sure that you are reading the questions carefully. That's it. I hope you guys have a good week. I'll talk to you later.